Hey, what's happening? So I've been out driving today, Uber and Lyft, and stopped at the library, picked up a book that I have heard so much about, but yet have never read it. I read excerpts of it and all of that, so I'm kind of excited about having it in my hand. The struggle between loyalty to God and loyalty to one's religion. Nice. I'm excited. Anyway, that's not what this video is about. This video is about how I went from where I was as a Jehovah's Witness to basically how I went from religion to relationship. And there's so much to that story that I could go into, but there's one thing in particular I want to talk about. This is probably going to be a little controversial to the all religions and all, those people who were turned away completely from God because by their experience with the society. But we all have to do what is best for us, and we have to deal in life and our spirituality in a way that's best for us. You cannot deny a spiritual aspect of the world that we live in. There's the physical world that we live in, and then there's something that we just don't see. We can feel it, and whoever we choose to attribute those feelings to, again, those are personal choices. So here's my story. As a Jehovah's Witness, because it was so structured and so programmed, so organized, there were just things that I was afraid of in reference to anything outside of the organization. One of those things was when I would hear about people being filled with the Spirit and speaking in tongues. When I tell you, it used to petrify me. And just as a side note, coming from the witnesses and going into becoming a real Christian, a follower of Christ, even the mere idea of going to heaven petrified me, like physically caused my blood pressure to raise. I would tremble and break out into sweats. It was really, really crazy. So that's another story. But anyway, back to this whole being in the Spirit of God and feeling the Spirit, speaking in tongues. And just really the gifts of the Spirit, period. The gifts of prophecy, the gifts of, the apostolic gift, all of that stuff. It was, yes, we would read about it at the meetings, but ultimately it was foreign. It was more fairy tale-ish. Not to say that what we read in the Bible wasn't true, but it was like it didn't apply to us. Why would it apply to us? Because we're just kind of nobodies, so to speak. Anyway, I'm rambling. I apologize. So I remember when I got to a place where I made the conscious decision to get God out of the box that I had him in, to understand that he was bigger and broader and wider, and there were just things about him I didn't understand, I couldn't understand, I would not understand, that he had gifts for me that I had never seen and never experienced, and again could not understand. So I remember just asking God, please, whatever it is that you have for me, remove my fear. Please don't make me afraid. I don't want to be afraid of God, because He is a God to be feared in reference to respect, but he's not a God to be feared in reference to fear. Does that make sense? Jesus was very approachable. You know, there are people who I'm sure on some level feared the works and the miracles that he performed, but they weren't afraid of him. So that's kind of, but they respected him. So that's how I believe it's supposed to be in reference to God. So I just had that prayer. I'm like, God, whatever it is, open me up. I don't want to be afraid of you. I want to be able to experience anything and everything that you have. I want it. I need it. I gotta have it. So that was a very sincere prayer. Not very eloquent in words, as you might see, but it was a sincere prayer because I wanted it. It had to be more than what I found at the congregation. It had to be more than what the Watchtower Bible Tract and whatever they are, the Watchtower Bible Tract Society had to offer. He had to be more than that. He had to be more than what I could see. He had to be more than what I had ever experienced. And so that is what I was looking for. So, you know, they say, be careful what you ask for because you just might get it. So what happened is that I was working at this job, and I don't mean anything by this, but I asked God for a white friend, a white Christian friend, because in my experience and from my observations, black people worship a little different than the, you know, between the gospel and the Christian aspect. It's just different. And so I just asked him, you know, you gotta ask for what you want. If you want to experience something new, you can't deal with what you've always dealt with. I had never really dealt with never really had just white Christian friends. I mean, anybody, once I came out of the society, it was always, you know, black church. So I asked God for more and to be exposed to something different. So this young lady showed up at my job, and she was Pentecostal, and so of course she was all out about the whole, you know, speaking in tongues and being slain in the spirit. They also don't wear makeup, jewelry, or pants. So that wasn't where I was going with it, but I did want to delve deeper into the spiritual aspect. So she and I started talking, and I even told her, I said, you know, I did ask God for a white friend. So she thought that was kind of funny, but you know, you can't be offended by anything like that. It just was what it was. So she and I started talking. We would pray together, we would read together, she would share things with me, I would share things with her, and we really developed a close spiritual friendship. So in that, we started talking about the gift of tongues, which was absolutely foreign to me. Again, in a lot of aspects, invoked fear inside of me, because I'd been in places where I'd heard people go off into tongues, and I would, you know, or I'd been places where someone would pray over me and they had their hand and they're, you know, trying to make me fall out, or they're trying to make me speak in tongues. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. You know, because in my own mind, I didn't know if it was real or the sincerity of the people. I didn't know. I have been a performer in my lifetime, and so I'm always conscious of performing. And so because I'm conscious of performing, I just wasn't about to play with Jesus at all. I wasn't going to play with him at all. So I guess maybe because of that, I never really could fully open up my spirit in that environment, in an environment where people were trying to, people were falling out and speaking in tongues and going into all kind of convulsions and whatnot. That just never was my deal. So she told me some things, and again, it was still a consistent prayer. I actually found a book that I read that talked about speaking in tongues. I can't recall it right now. If I remember, maybe I'll put it down in the description. But the gentleman in there, he talked about speaking in tongues. He actually had a video that you could go to and look up, and that would kind of, demonstrate, if that makes sense. And again, it was sort of a thing where I was like, okay, we'll see, but I was so caught up in the fact that I didn't want to do what I'd always heard, seen other people do. I didn't want to say all the same jabber that seemed to come out of the mouths of other people. I wanted to know that it was from God, that I was not just showing out or performing in front of anybody. So I read the book and I watched the video and I just prayed to God. And so the guy says in the book or in the video, he says that, when you ask God to fill you with the Spirit, he said at that point it does become a step of faith. So basically all you would do is open your mouth. And when you open your mouth, the words would start coming out. Obviously not words of the language that you know, or even of a earthly language, period. But he says that when you open your mouth and you believe and you've already asked God to fill you with the Spirit, you open your mouth in faith, and whatever comes out, don't think about it, just do it. So I was, by the time I decided to actually take action on what he said and to test out this theory, it was a Sunday morning. I will never ever forget. Mid-August, it was around my mom's birthday. I remember that. And so I was in the shower, and I always talk to God in the shower. I don't know if it was just the fact that, because at that point I'm literally bearing all, so there's nothing to hide, and that, not that you can hide anything from God anyway, but just symbolically, you're literally naked. So you are literally physically, psychologically naked. You're literally bearing everything before God. So that was why I talked to him in the shower often. So I was in the shower and I was like, okay, God, oh, Jesus, I want this gift. I want whatever you have for me. And this gift is something that I desire from you, because I feel like if I know it's from you, then I'll know it's from you. And if you want me to have it, and if you want me to have this as a confirmation from you, so that I know that you hear me, I know that you're listening, I know that you know the true desire of my heart, I want it, Jesus, and I'm asking you to just give it to me. So I said that prayer, not those exact words, obviously, but something of the gist. And I shut my mouth, and then I opened my mouth. When I opened my mouth, these sounds and words and language started coming out of me. When I tell you, it freaked me out completely. And it's like it happened, and when they started coming out, I was like, I literally covered up my mouth. So, and then I started crying. I'm in the shower and I'm crying, and so I move my hand and it's just bubbling out. It's just coming out. It's just coming out. And I'm speaking and I'm crying, and I like literally collapse in the shower, and I'm on my knees, and I'm just, man. And it was like it would not stop. It would not stop. So I clenched my teeth together because I needed it to stop. As crazy as that sounds, I needed it to stop. So I like finished bathing, and I got out of the shower, and the whole time my jaws were just clenched because my lips were so tight pressed together, because literally anytime I opened my mouth, it was coming out. Now I got dressed, and my whole family was still asleep. So I walked in my bedroom, sat on my bed, and that kind of aroused my husband. He woke up and looked at me, and I'm sitting there like, and he says, "You all right? Are you sure?" And like tears are falling, and he's like, "What's going on?" And so I had to sort of like concentrate, and I did open my mouth, and I tried to keep my throat constricted because I didn't want it to start coming out. I felt like it was going to freak him out, which it would, because my family had never seen or experienced anything like that with me. And so I was just like, oh, God gave me tongues. It sounds so crazy right now, but I'm so serious. Oh my God, I was almost traumatized. And he was like, what? You know, and so anyway, I don't really remember word for word the rest of the conversation. I just remember that I stayed really, really quiet and kept my mouth really close to shut the majority of that day. And so, and I know when I got to church that morning, because I was the minister of music at the church that I attended, at the Lighthouse Family Praise and Worship Center in Mississippi. And so I got to church, and you know, even talking to my pastor, it was like, you know, I couldn't talk much, and I had to sing, so I was, you know, everything was so strained for me that day. Oh my goodness, it was so crazy. And so we had a, you know, at one point he always asked for testimonies, and so I raised my hand, and and so I said, well, you know, this morning I talked to God, and I prayed for him to be filled with his spirit, and I prayed for the spirit of tongues, and then he gave it to me in the shower, and I was like, you know, and the whole time I'm just boo-hooing, tears, just because the thing is, you know the difference between, you should. The word says that my sheep will hear my voice, or my sheep will know my voice. So you know when it's God, and you know when it's not. Simple. You know when it is and when it's not. So, and I'm just boo-hooing, and then like the next thing, and so my pastor's like, well, praise God, and he starts praying, and when he starts praying, then all this starts coming out of me, and it was almost like a boomerang, you know, tongues coming from me, and he's speaking, and it was just like crazy. The spirit was traveling through the church. You could just see the people, those that weren't confused, but those who were really in tune with the Spirit of God. Like, I couldn't even play. It was such an amazing thing for me. And the amazing thing is because it did not happen in a church service with somebody laying their hands on me. It didn't happen in a room full of people with, you know, everybody's sprawled out and hollering and screaming, convulsing, and doing what they, you know, slaying in the spirit. It didn't happen like that. it happened with just me and Jesus. Just us. Had I chosen to not tell anybody, it still would have happened. Had I chosen not to share it in church, it still would have happened. It would not have taken away from the fact that it happened, and that God spoke to me and spoke through me, and that I truly for myself at that moment, if never before and never since, at that moment I felt the connection, and I felt the relationship with Jesus that I had been seeking for so long. And I just can't explain it. Like, you know, you don't always feel it. You don't always hear from God, you know, and every time I'm in a church service, tongues don't always come out. I really don't speak in it often. But I know that when it comes on me, when it comes through me, then I know it's Jesus. Because, again, I'm not a performer. Not when it comes to church stuff. I don't play with Jesus. I know he's real. I know his spirit is real. I know the devil is real. I know that I can't fight Satan on my own. So I need God to be there and to be there. Be with me, be in me. And I know that I need his spirit to help me to continue to battle against the attacks that the enemy has over my mind and my heart and my life. And so I don't play with it at all. So anyway, like I said, I know this won't be a very popular subject amongst a lot of the XJWs, unless of course you know you were XJW and now you're Christian. Those who are atheists and those who have turned away from God altogether, or who believe in a whole bunch of random gods. You know, I mean, this subject, this song ain't for you. So, and I don't take offense to that. Again, you know, God deals with us, each of us differently. You have 3 children in a classroom or 10 children in a classroom. Each of those kids learns differently. Each of those children receive differently. They each retain differently. And so that is how God got my attention. Mine. I can't speak for you. I can't say what he did, or, you know, I don't have the power of healing in my hands, and I don't have the power of prophecy and you know, foreseeing visions. He didn't give me that. You know, I have the gifts that he wants me to have, and I have the gifts that have been beneficial for my life and for the ministry that he's put in me. And that's really all we can ask for. You know, many members, one body. Everybody's not going to have the same thing, or feel the same thing, or do or experience the same thing. So anyway, I've talked a little longer than I'd anticipated talking, but it is honestly such an exciting topic for me, because I had somebody commented on one of the other videos and was like, I hope you haven't turned atheist. I'm like, no, not at all. Like, I'm the furthest thing from an atheist. Somebody else said something about I am an atheist to all the other gods. I don't know them. I'm not worried about them. I can't be against something that I don't have any knowledge of or awareness of, or even, you know, whatever. So but anyway, that's it. I'm riding around. I'm gonna get back online. Maybe I can pick me up some Uber or some Lyft customers, give me a little change in my pocket. I welcome all comments respectfully. I welcome all opinions respectfully. And if you have an experience with God or the touch of God, let me know, because that's what we really need to focus on. The organization, they did what they did. They did what they did. They've hurt people and they've harmed people, and they have destroyed lives and families. But God is still greater. And they are exactly what they say they are. They are not anointed. They are not inspired. They are not any of those things. They tell you out of their own mouths that they are merely men who offer their opinions on what they think and how things should be. So as far as I'm concerned, they have no credibility. They can't tell me who God is and who he's not. They can't tell me what God is and what it's not. They can't tell me that how I live my life is not pleasing to a God that they apparently don't know. Because if they knew, they would tell the truth. If they knew God for real, they would tell the truth. So yeah, ponder on that a while. Anyway, you guys have a great day. See ya.